golfj.com.
Hey, happy Labor Day, everybody. Welcome to a special Monday night Labor Day edition of the Golf J podcast on FingerLakes1.tv. I'm Jim Sinicropi here with Doug Brown inside the FingerLakes1.com studios on the third floor of the North Park building in Seneca Falls, New York. It's Monday, September 4th, 2017. Rhett Ticconi's got the night off tonight, and tonight we're doing something special that we do every year on Labor Day weekend. It's traditionally the Seneca Falls Country Club Championship weekend, and we bring the champ in and we talk a little bit about that, and of course we're going to talk about Justin Thomas winning at TPC Boston. Stacy Lewis gets her first win on the LPGA Tour since 2014, and also want to talk about the golf ball. There's talk about limiting the distance of the golf ball, and I got some interesting stats that might support that might be a path that the USGA and RNA might want to take, despite the objections from Acushnet and Titleist. So first of all, welcome, Doug. Happy Labor Day.
Thanks, Jim. Glad to be here.
And also in studio with us is the 2017 Seneca Falls Country Club champion, Jim Panek. Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
About 7 hours ago, I'd say, that he closed out Steve Hyde on the 15th green of the 36th hole final.
Right.
And also interesting, you won last year, Doug.
Yes.
Now, I didn't compete this year because you're taking on a new job as the golf manager, operations manager, and pro shop manager at the Seneca Falls Country Club. So you actually ran the tournament, officiated the tournament, didn't defend your title.
Right.
Last year, you became the oldest club champ in club history.
There's mixed emotions, but thanks.
And today, Steve Hyde had a chance to become the new oldest champ, but Jim had other plans, and first of all, just let everybody know, traditionally it's a match play tournament. There's some sort of qualifier held. This year it was an 18-hole qualifier. Top 16 made it. Mm-hmm. First round Saturday afternoon, the final 8 Sunday morning, the final 4 Sunday afternoon, and then the Labor Day 36-hole final. So are you a little tired? It's been a long day.
It's been a long weekend.
Right. Yeah, it's about 100 holes of golf. If you add up the holes that Jimmy played this weekend, it's awful darn close to 100 holes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of golf.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
But it's more mentally, though.
Absolutely right.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, did you were you feeling fatigued out there today after the third straight day of 36 holes, or was it more like when you were done that you said, "Wow, man, I'm tired"?
I think it was when I was on my way home.
Yeah,
that's when it hit me.
Sure.
When you're out there playing, I was, you don't get to play in front of too many people.
Right.
And with people watching you, it's different.
Right.
And so there is no fatigue. You go and play. And
yeah. And I kind of feel like it was the same for Steve. Steve's 60 years old. He's won 6 times prior to this. 6-time club champ. He's going for his 7th at age 60. Mm. And he as well played the 36th Saturday, the 36th Sunday, and the 36th today, or the 36-hole final. It only went to 33 holes.
Right.
But that's a lot of golf for anyone, let alone a 60-year-old.
Totally agree. And I think Steve is probably fatigued right now. He may not tell you that. If he'd have won, he'd have been less fatigued.
Right.
Okay, but the outcome has somewhat to do with that as well. But Steve's a competitor. I'm sure the same thing is the adrenaline gets flowing. I'm sure Jim feels the same way. And you get through it.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Well, I played the 18-hole qualifier, went to a playoff to get in as the 16th seed, and played my first round match and lost on the 18th hole, and I was tired after one day. Right. And I remember waking up Sunday morning, Sunday morning I didn't golf. I went down and watched some of the Final Four matches, and I remember how sore I was just from the one day of 36 holes. So it's a physical and mental grind. There's no doubt about that.
What you don't know is how you would have felt if you had won Saturday afternoon. How would you have felt Sunday morning? Less sore, less fatigued.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had to get up and get going.
Get to bed a little earlier, probably.
The competitive juices get going. It's amazing what your body can really tolerate. So,
yeah, well, so you shot 79 in the qualifier. That put you in where? What was your seed?
I was 6th seed.
6th seed. And really you throw seeds out the window once you start the match play. And your first match was against Matt Ferrara, and it was his first time qualifying. It was his first match in a club championship, and he gave you a run for your money.
Matt played very well. He made every par putt. He was just putting the ball in play, and he did very well. He surprised me.
Yeah.
I haven't played with Matt too often, but he played great.
Well, I know he's been working pretty hard on his game over the past couple of years, and I give him a lot of credit, for maintaining his composure and putting a good fight together in that match. Now, there was a rules incident there on the 10th hole. He tapped down a spike marker on the green, and that was a loss. And I bring that out only to say a lot of people don't know. You can't tap down anything except for ball marks. You can repair ball marks, but anything else you can't touch unless it's a loose impediment that you're removing, right, Doug?
Right, unless you had a local rule that could say you could touch anything, which we did not. We're playing summer rules and only fixing ball marks, that's it. The rules did state no spike marks, et cetera. So any imperfection on a green other than a ball mark could not be touched. And so there was an infraction there that had to be dealt with, and it was dealt with well and sportsmanlike, and we moved on.
Yeah, Sam. So you win the first round. Second round, you face Matt Walters. He might be the only guy in the field that hits it farther than you, but looks like you won that match 3-2 as well.
Yeah.
And how is that match playing against a guy that hits it out there?
Yeah, he does hit it. He hits it far, and I knew that going in though. I knew I just had to play my game and just stay patient. And he started off birdie, and made a 20-footer for par on 3.
Right.
And so, it was a tough start for me, but I just kept telling myself, just stay patient. It's an 18-hole match, stay patient. And unfortunately for him, he kind of hit some bad shots coming down the stretch, and I just kept putting the ball in play.
You forced his hand a little bit. 13 and 14, you played very well, and he was kind of on the edge. Yeah. So you forced his hand a little bit, and he didn't come through, especially on 14, because you had a bomb on 14.
Yeah.
And he told me he would normally hit an iron there, but I think he was trailing then at that time by one. I think by one.
Yeah, he was one down.
And you had hit a drive that probably has 200 yards or less left to the par 5, and he felt he had to go for it, and he let it go a little bit to the right, and it cost him. But I think that's match play at its finest. Yeah. Okay, where he was starting to play you and not the golf course.
Right.
And sometimes late in a round, you got to play your opponent. And he did. It just didn't come through. So.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's every match has its ebbs and flows, and there's a lot of momentum involved. And I want to move ahead now to the Final Four, which featured Chuck Ersman and Steve Hyde. Steve Hyde advanced 4-3 over Chuck. And before I get into these matches, I got to tell you something amazing that happened to me on Saturday. In the qualifying round, I'm playing with Mike Kilpatrick, and Olmsted,
yeah.
And he hits bombs a drive out on 13, which is a par 4. It's the number 3 handicap hole on the course, 4 handicap hole on the course. Leaves himself about 115 to 120. And then jugs it for a 2. So I've seen 2 eagles on that hole in my life.
Wow.
And I saw the second one that day, and so then that's something to see for sure. And it really turned his whole round around. I actually tripled that hole. He made a 2. That's a 5-shot swing, and I'm pretty sure I was beating him heading into that hole. Then later that day in our first round match, I was paired with Chuck Ersman, and he was playing your brother Jeff. Yeah. And we're on the 8th hole, and Chuck is about 115 out maybe, jugs it in the hole for a 2 on 8. So I saw 2 guys jug a shot from the fairway for a deuce in the same day, which I don't think I've ever seen that before.
So, Jim, I haven't had a hole in one yet. What are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah, right.
Can we get together and play?
I mean, those are 2s on a par 4, but the same length as like the 12th hole, which is a par 3, or a lot of par 3s. So same type of deal. It just takes a little luck, but they were both great shots. Mike's shot on 13, the ball mark was about 3 feet short, and I saw that one clear as day. It hit and went in the hole on the first bounce in the air. And then the chucks I didn't actually see. I heard it hit the pin, and I looked at the green real quick, and then Chuck was going crazy, and so that's something you don't see every day. But the Final Four, Steve did beat Chuck in the one semifinal, 4-3, and then probably they were both really interesting semifinals. But you were playing the guy that you beat in the finals in 2013, was it? 2013?
13.
Yeah. And one of your best friends, guy you golf with all the time, Jeff Good, and that was an incredible match. You got out to an early 3-up lead after maybe 4 holes. You were 3-up. Yep. And then you maintained that lead for most of the match. And then on what was the first hole he won to kind of turn things back? Was it he was 2-up going into? He was 2 down with 2 to go, right? On 17.
Yep, on 17.
And you hit your shot well right of the green, but pin high. Hit a really nice little flop shot. Left yourself about 5 feet. You were short-sided and hit a nice shot. Goody was short off the tee, but able to putt from the fringe. Left it well short, maybe 12 feet short. He makes the putt before you putt. So you're thinking, if he misses that putt, match is over. You're going to the finals. But he makes it. So now you got to make this 4 or 5 foot putt that you made most of them, but you missed that one.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden you're going to 18, and you probably, I think you'd admit that was your worst tee shot of the tournament on 18.
That's the worst tee shot that I've hit in a while.
Yeah, kind of.
That was horrible.
Now, was it under pressure there? Obviously, after
there was some pressure, but also at the same time I was 1 up.
Yeah, so right.
I kicked myself because you got to play to win.
Yeah,
and I didn't do it, and I had a horrible lie on my second shot. I was right on a tree root.
Right.
And I put it into the woods, and then I hit one into the tree, hit another one into the tree. And finally, I was hitting 6 from the fairway, and he's on the green. I told him, I go, come on, let's go to 1. So.
And then he makes an incredible up and down after missing the green in 2 on 1 long, and then you go to 2. He hits a bad drive there into the high grass, has to punch out, and long story short, you close him out on 2. What's your mindset, though, after being 2 up with 2 to go and then finding yourself even again on going into a sudden death playoff?
Well, it's an 18-hole match, so, you can sit there and dwell on it, or you can try to go out there and, just finish it off. And, I left a birdie putt short on 1 that I read it perfect, and I left it, I don't know, maybe 6 inches short.
Yeah.
But then on 2, he got himself in trouble, and I said, I'm swinging.
Yeah, you nutted it right down the middle.
Yeah, I had 90 yards in. So,
because even to his credit, he punched out, he had 150 and hit it on the green. So if you still really needed to make a par, you need to make a 4. He made 5, despite the bad drive. So you don't want to go too conservative in that situation and make a bogey yourself and blow the opportunity to close them out. Now, not saying you don't like Matt Ferrara or Matt Walters, but they're not your good friends. Is it harder to play against a guy that you play with all the time, that you're good friends with? Do you feel a little bad even beating them in the fact that, or what's that type of friendly rivalry like?
I'd rather play somebody else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to play Goody, or my brother.
Yeah, right.
But it happens.
Yeah.
If we all want to win it, so we know that we might have to face each other, and we know when it's all said and done, we're just going to go out, have a beer, and go on with our lives.
Right. It's not a life-changing moment necessarily. Not.
So now, Brownie, you've played and winning your 5 club championships. Right. You've obviously played a lot of good friends. You beat Steve Hyde before in twice. You had to play, or 2 or 3 times. You probably had to play Hyde in the finals.
I played Steve 3 times, Booty a couple times. My brother way back, who's not a bad player himself. I played him twice. it was probably very similar to him because Jeff Good's like a brother to you.
Yeah.
You know, so tough, but he's right. You just go play. Right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story. First time I played my brother, I went to talk to my mother. She would just go play golf.
Yeah.
Right? What are you gonna do? Right? Yeah. I didn't want to beat him, but I wasn't gonna let him beat me.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Let's see what comes out, and it's just the way it is. And to these guys' credit, they rode in the same cart together.
Yeah.
I think they shared a Coca-Cola together. You know, but that's the way they are, and that's good stuff. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at a club like Seneca Falls, most of the guys, you know, that were in this field, like I played golf with Dan Kernan on Sunday mornings.
Right.
You know, and there we were, and we actually, when I went to the finals a couple of years ago, my first round match was against Dan Kernan.
Right.
And so it's kind of odd that, it's funny, I medaled that day, and I played Dan Kernan was the last guy in. And this year, 2 years later, Dan Kernan medaled, and I was the last guy in. I'm playing Dan Kernan. So, you know, we had a laugh before we played, and then when it was done, I said, hey, we're 1-1 now, you know.
Right.
So it's, you're right. It's, and I was really happy, you know, for Dan. I was really upset with myself for losing in the way I lost, but I was,
Right.
but you know, seeing when you have a guy like Dan that you play a lot of golf with, and he's been struggling for the past couple of years, like to the point where a lot of guys would quit.
Right.
Like he had really lost it. He was a guy who was probably a solid 4 or 5 handicap
Right.
4 years ago, and he was having trouble keeping it in the low 80s
Right.
for a couple years there. But nobody's worked harder, I think, than
Nobody's
Dan
worked
Kernan,
harder than Dan Kernan.
this
I
year.
totally
So I was happy to see him medal, and when he beat me, I probably wouldn't have rather lost to anybody. You know,
Right.
I was really happy for him. So, so you survive the match against your friend, and you head to today's final. You know, and you just played 36, and now it's Sunday morning, Labor Day, and one of the special things about this tournament is that people show up to watch. You know, there must have been there's probably 50 people out there. So a lot of intangibles affect the size of the spectators, but everybody's riding in carts. It's fun, you know. I'm riding in carts, driving up to the green after every hole, and you know, everybody's got some drinks, and it was nice weather today. It was fun to watch some golf, but you know, what's your mindset getting ready to play 36 holes for the third straight day? Did you get to bed early last night?
No, I go to bed late.
Yeah.
Like always, I treat it just another night, and you know. It's to me, there was no pressure. It was more of a fun thing. I enjoy golf. I enjoy competing. So to me, you know, I was in the mind frame of I'm gonna just go out there and play. I'm gonna go out there and swing. You know, and wherever it goes, it goes. But I'm gonna give it my best. That's, you know, and I think I watch a lot of guys when they get into this competition. They try to hold back, or they try to steer shots,
Right.
and they just don't let it go. And you know, I've watched like Dougie and a lot of the older guys. You know, they play their game, and I think that's the biggest thing. Just play your game.
Yeah, one thing that I gave advice to some guys that qualified for the first time, I say, you know, you're going to be nervous, but like when I feel nervous on the first tee, I'm actually happy because it means I'm excited to play.
Right.
You know, you play so much golf, there's so many rounds, you know, I'm always happy to play and excited to play, but when you got that little bit of butterflies in your stomach on the first tee, that to me, instead of letting it be something that might hurt you, I just usually say I'm really excited to play. I'm glad I feel this way. And like you say, let it go. Sometimes easier said than done, though.
Well, if you're nervous, I think it means something to you, so you need to use that as a positive force. If you go up there nonchalant in an event like this, you might get your ass handed to you, you know. But you want to be churned up a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's probably a level where you don't want to get to, but overall, you want some of it.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, in watching your match with Steve, you play the first 18 holes and you're 1 up, so that was pretty good. Even you guys made a lot of pars and bogeys, a lot of ties, right? Not a lot of birdies in that first 18.
No, there wasn't. It was back and forth. I don't think nobody went up more than one.
No more than
right?
one. No.
It was just
That's
one
true.
up the whole time, back and forth.
A lot of ties. You're absolutely right. I would say there was probably, I don't know, a dozen tied holes would be my guess. And then one up even, one down even.
Yeah.
And then you take a little break, have some lunch, and then you go back out and you open up a little bit of a lead by the fourth hole, right? I think you were maybe 2 up or 3 up even by that point.
I think it went 3 up after 4.
Actually, I think what was kind of interesting, and it's leading to what I'm trying to get to, is you got an outstanding short game, and you're probably the best putter at the country club this year. I mean, at least what I saw today. And I've played golf with you and seen you play golf in some tournaments and that we both play in, and I see you make putts, especially in that 10-foot range, 5 to 10 feet. You make a lot of putts. And we can talk about bombing the ball out there. I didn't see that. You hit the ball farther than Steve Hyde, but that wasn't the difference today. And probably wouldn't be the difference in any of the matches. What the difference is that every time you have a 5-foot putt in match play, your opponent's thinking, if he misses this, I'm going to either win or tie the hole. If he makes it, I'm either going to, lose the hole or tie the hole. And you make them all. You made them all. Right. Like, you literally made probably 14 for 15 from inside 10 feet today. And that's really tough to beat. And there was a situation on the third hole, par 3, where you both played short to a back pin, uphill chip shot, and you chipped it to about 3 feet, and Steve left it about 6 feet, 7 feet short, missed the putt, you make the putt. The very next hole, you both find yourself on the fourth hole, short left to a middle pin, and again, you get up and down, Steve doesn't. So right there, you both hit the same exact shots, through that point, but the short game was the difference to give you that cushion. And then as the match progressed, you just kept making putts every time there was an opportunity for Steve to get one back, for the most part, except for the 11th hole, which you conceded after a lost ball. You just kept making putts. Yeah. And so it's really frustrating, obviously. But I want to ask, for a lot of people watching right now, and myself included, struggled putting this weekend. I never could see the line. I never felt like I would line myself up. I feel like I put a good stroke on it, but it would be 2 inches right, and then the next hole would be 2 inches left, and really frustrating. So what goes through your mind when you read a putt and set up to it? Like, how do you go through that?
Well, today was different. I usually don't read them. I try not to overread the greens, but I was taking a read from behind the hole, and for some odd reason, I was just really confident with my reads, and the greens were rolling as good as I've ever seen them roll. I think you can probably agree.
They were
with that.
fantastic this weekend.
They were just, not that they were, real fast, but they were smooth.
Mm-hmm.
There was, so when they're smooth like that, you just pick your line. For me, I picked my line and just confidently just hit it. And, for the most part, I did. I putted really well today. I said to, Jeff Good was with me in the cart, and I said to him, I've never putted this well before. And he goes, well, you got a couple more to go. Just keep going.
Yeah, right.
And I go, I don't know why I'm reading the greens. I just feel really good.
They were all center cut. No, they weren't falling in the side. They were going in the back of the cup, right in center cut.
Yeah, good speed.
So are you thinking technical thoughts when you're putting? Are you thinking, like, keep your head down, follow through, swing it out? Like, what do you...
Pick your line, and stay confident. Yeah. If you really feel like that's your line, hit it. And if you hit your mark and you miss the putt, well, then you misread it, but at least you hit the putt.
So do you pick a mark, like, between the hole and the ball that you're trying to go over, or do you envision the whole putt?
I usually try to find a spot maybe 3 feet from where I'm putting,
right,
and try to hit that spot and gauge the speed on the way I want to putt it. Sometimes sometimes I left them a couple short that I didn't want. I was more caught up in my line.
And the longer putts.
Yeah, I left it short. But
well, so when you're standing over the ball, do you see the line from the ball to the hole?
I try to envision it. Yeah.
And so when you putt well, do you feel like it's because you see that line over the ball, or because I struggle when I'll look behind the ball and I'll see the line and I know what the putt's done. I played those greens a million times, and then I get over the ball and I don't see it anymore, and I think that's when I struggle. And it's frustrating. It's a geometric. Your eyes from that angle aren't necessarily built to see the line looking out your peripheral vision. So that's something that I really struggle with, and I was just wondering if that's something that you naturally, when you're over the ball, see it.
Yeah, I tried to envision it going in before I hit it, how it's going to break. But today it was actually, I got to thank Dougie, because the way it was scheduled, that we had 2 hours in between our round, and I went and putted for a good half hour.
Between the 18s today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was out there punting for a while, I was all by myself and threw 3 balls down and just kept punting. From 15 feet, just kept punting. And when we started it back up, I felt really confident. And once you make that first putt,
right,
then you make the second putt, and you make the third putt, and you're like, I got something good going here today, and you feel good.
Right.
But then there's days where the hole looks like a thumbtack, and you can't.
Yeah.
You can't get it anywhere near it. So
from what I saw of his approach putting, I know he lines up something on the golf ball to where he's going to aim, whether it's the main logo or something on the side of the golf ball, because you spend a little bit of time positioning that.
Yeah.
But overall, you don't spend a lot of time on any element of putting when you're out there putting. You look at the line. A couple of times you got like in the middle of it distance-wise.
Yeah.
And then after that, he just swings the putter head straight back and through. So if he's losing, like you said, you lose sight of the line on the golf ball saves him if he's losing the line. I'm not saying he is.
Yeah.
Okay? But once he gets back over the ball, if he's confident the letters are pointing right, he's ready to go. Then he just swings the putter head. It's a very simple stroke. And it's kind of straight back and straight through. There's no real moving parts other than the pendulum at the bottom.
What's your putter?
I have a 19...
01.
Oh, yeah. It's a Wilson. It is the oldest putter, probably. I don't even know where I got it from, to be honest with you.
Is that the only putter you've ever used?
It's the only putter I've ever had.
So it's old technology, but that's okay.
Well, I think putters, like I said, I use my Spalding TPM putter this weekend that I bring back every so often since I putted with it when I was 15 years old. I've got a bunch of putters, but I always pull that one back when I struggle. And it's just a flat face, when you're rolling the ball, so it really matters what looks good to you over the ball.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Brownie, now what's your approach to putting?
Well, I'd like to have his approach. I think I'm one of those, I overanalyze it a little bit, not as much as some, but I like the approach. It was very simple. I watched him. He wasn't worn out putting. You don't do a lot of stuff to where you're prancing around and doing this and doing that, and you're exhausted by the time you putt or something like that,
Yeah.
It was just very simple, very straightforward, and very effective. Okay.
Yeah.
I lately have not really spent too much time bending down to look at the line. I just plumb bob and go. All right? And because I go in streaks where I'm not very good at putting. So I figure the less I look at it, the better off I am. All right? And the last couple of weeks haven't been too bad. I haven't putted good like that, maybe ever. Okay, but I'd like to putt that well.
Yeah.
But I liked the very simple approach. It wasn't, oh my God, it wasn't like it was, I watch these guys on TV, they get the book out and they do this and they do that. I think he's got a very simple, very successful approach.
Yeah.
Don't change it.
No.
So,
Well,
a lot to be learned from watching that.
Yeah,
Young kids were out there today, which I didn't see a lot of. It's sad there wasn't any young kids out there.
Yeah.
But if they really watch that approach, don't watch TV. Just watch what he's doing.
Yeah.
Really very, very effective.
And no matter what you're preparing for, whether it's match play or you're just trying to get your handicap down or shoot a good score, the number one thing you can do is practice the 3 to 5 foot putts.
No doubt.
Unless you're playing in a group that pick it up.
Well, because you're going to get a 50-footer, so if you get it down within 3 foot, you've done well. Now make the 3-footer. Because you're going to get a 50-footer. It's going to happen, or more, right?
Same thing when you're greenside. If you confident you can make a 3 to 5 foot putt, then the chip becomes easier because you're not trying to get it to 2 inches. You're just trying to get it in that 5 foot range, which is a big target, to chip to.
Right.
So I mean, that's one thing I took away today is that it would have been tough for anybody to beat you today because you just kept shutting the door every time somebody had an opportunity. You made the putt, and there's these after a while, and I'm sure. I don't want to speak for Steve Hyde and what was going through his head, and he's been in a lot of matches. He's made a lot of comebacks, but I think at some point that he said, "I don't think I can win because he's not giving me anything."
Right. Once you get behind, you're supposed to expect your opponent to make everything, but you're hoping to get some help.
Yeah.
And there was no help provided today if you were the opponent. You get down by 2, you get down by 3, you get down by 4, especially late in the round. It gets mathematically very difficult to come back. So you either got to get very, very hot yourself or get some help from the other guy.
Yeah.
And there was no help.
Well, when he closed it out on 15, he had 3.5 feet maybe.
Yep.
And it wasn't the simplest putt.
Toughest little putt. Yeah, it was a tough putt.
And, in my mind, I'm thinking, if he misses this, it goes to 16. And anything can happen, as you know from your match with Goody on Sunday. And anybody that plays down there knows that once you get to that 16th tee, anything can happen. You're one bad shot from going to the 17th tee, and then from 17, you're one bad shot from going to 18. So so I was thinking, if he misses this, Steve still has a chance. But, of course, you center cut it, and that was the end of the match. And we had our 2017 club champ.
Right. Also look at his first putt on 15. I think you knew you had to leave that short.
Oh, yeah, you can't.
Any bit of aggressiveness, you're going to have 10 foot down the hill and all that. So he left himself 3 or 4 feet, but I believe he hit it where he had to hit it.
Right.
And he was putting those putts well anyways.
Yeah.
So I got to believe in his mindset somehow this target was short of a hole.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I'd rather have a 6-footer from where you were than the 10-footer coming back up the hill.
Right.
You don't want that runaway or going down the hill and you got to come back up it. So
once you got where the hole was,
right.
Once you got it past the hole, it was gone.
Right. A tough angle.
And actually, I think Steve left his putt short too.
He did.
And that's a tough, with Steve. I mean, I was kind of expecting him to run it by because
had to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he left it short, I was like, all right, I got to make this. And I said to Jeff Good on the tee box, I go, I need to win this right now.
Right.
I don't want to go to 16,
Sure,
and I don't want to deal with 17 again. I've struggled on 17 all weekend.
Right.
And luckily for me, that putt went in. And
we played a nice second shot there, too, from behind that little bushy tree.
Yeah.
That could have – I don't know how close you were to it, but it looks like you had to go a little bit under and low, and it got hot and run across the green.
I couldn't go at the pin.
Right.
So I just tried to get the ball in the middle of the green and hit it just a little bit too hard, but it just trickled off into the –
where you could play.
Into the fringe.
Right.
And
you putted from a little bit of the tall grass, but not a whole lot.
But at that point, I was hoping a 2-putt would be good enough.
Sure.
So I elected to putt it. And, that way I can control the distance a little bit better.
A bad putt would be better than a bad chip. Yeah. Absolutely right. Worked out well.
Well, this tournament's been played since 1943. This was the 74th playing of it. And there's always some upsets along the way, but it always produces a quality champ, someone that you can say is a member of the club that he's the best player down there this year. So congratulations, that you definitely earned it. And like I said, you're the best player at the club this year, 2017 club champ.
Thanks.
I agree. I was out there, fortunate enough, I was out there all day with these guys, most of the weekend as well, but definitely all day today. He played tremendous. Certainly deserving winner.
Thanks.
It was awesome to watch.
Well, stick around with us and let's talk some PGA Tour and some other topics here before we close out the hour. We got about 25 minutes left here. And also just a couple hours ago, Justin Thomas won the Dell Technologies at TPC Boston, added another big title to a season filled with big moments. He outlasted Jordan Spieth and Mark Leishman on the back nine of the TPC Boston to win the Dell Technologies. It was his 6th win of the year, right, or 6th career win. 2 shots behind at the turn, Thomas surged ahead with a short birdie and a 6-foot par putt save, and then closed with a 5 under 66 for a 3-shot victory that was a lot tighter than the final margin would indicate. After Spieth and Leishman both stumbled on the last hole. Spieth wasted a birdie-eagle, birdie-birdie start to his round with too many mistakes on the back nine, closed with a 67, was runner-up for the second straight week in the FedEx Cup Playoffs. Spieth still maintains his number 1 spot in the FedEx Cup standings. Leishman shot 40 on the back nine, wound up 4 back after a 70, and, my biggest takeaway watching this week is this is why the playoffs are awesome, because all year long, whether it's a St. Jude Classic or whether it's the Phoenix Open or whatever tournament it is, even the majors, you rarely see the showdowns between like the big guns. Like we had Johnson and Spieth last week, and this week we had Thomas and Spieth. And I think, Brownie, that's what these playoffs produce, and that's why they're so great to watch.
Right, we're hoping the top 5 or top 6 are going at each other every Sunday, in this case Monday afternoon, which is an unusual finish, but Labor Day. That's what you want. Now we're down to, the final 70, right? Was the cut today?
70 was a cut, yeah.
70. Next week's week off, then 32.
Russell Knox was odd man out at 71, I think. Or was it Brandon Grace? One of the two.
So you look at the leaderboard, I know obviously all the big names are at the top. And Justin Thomas is good.
Yeah.
Let's get real.
Yeah.
He's a player. Young gun. I happen to have him in 2 fantasy leagues. I'm thrilled right now, right? But the guy can play. The young man can play.
Yeah.
Player of the year right now, player of the year, if you had to vote today.
Yeah, well, he was he came up with Spieth and, McIlroy's, and he was kind of a little late bloomer, but now he's kind of positioned himself right up there with those guys.
Yeah, he's 24. He's pretty late.
Yeah, well, just in the fact that he came up with these guys, and these guys are winning majors and player of the years and FedEx Cups, and, he was always seemed like an underachiever. Well, that's not the case anymore. He's obviously come into his own and playing great golf. And, I don't understand the player of the year. Like, the winner of the FedEx Cup's the player of the year, right? I mean, they should be. Why would it be separate? See,
the tour players vote on player of the year. So somebody's going to win that FedEx Cup may not have had the best season overall. Right. I mean, you could win 9 events and not win the FedEx Cup. Because the guy in the 5th place, if he wins the last tournament, gets the FedEx Cup. Right? So the tour, I'm glad that the players themselves vote on this, because who knows better? The media doesn't know any better. We get right down to it. So... I disagree with you.
Okay.
Politely
it's
disagree.
Not the first time. Not the first time. Will be the last time.
That's right. So.
Well, let's take a look at the FedEx standings actually now through today's tournament. Spieth, like I said, holds on to the top spot.
Yep.
And there's Justin Thomas right behind him. And Dustin Johnson. Obviously, those are your 3 contenders for player of the year.
Right.
You got Spieth winning the Open, Thomas winning his first major this year. You don't see Sergio on this list though, the Masters champ. He had that big breakthrough year, but he doesn't play full time necessarily.
He doesn't have the full package.
John Rahm kind of faded today, but amazing to have a rookie up there at 5 at this point, ahead of guys like Ricky Fowler. And there's Paul Casey, just incredible. Every week he's up there. And Leishman is probably the one guy, if you ask the average golf fan, to name the top 10 guys in the FedEx Cup standings right now, Leishman would be one they might forget, and so would be Pat Perez.
Right.
Who's had an amazing, if they still had comeback player of the year, it would have to be Pat Perez. And, you get down here into the top 20, and a lot of interesting names here. Hoffman, we know, has had a great year. Vegas, I don't think you'd expect to see him there. Brian Harmon's quietly had an incredible year, and Adam Hadwin from Canada at 16 is looking pretty good. Then we move down here. Let's move down to the top 30, because this is the cut for the Tour Championship. So they take a week off, and then they go to Conway Farms near Chicago, and this is the cut line for the top 30. So guys like Xander Schauffele, who is having a great rookie campaign, and there's Sergio on the outside looking in. And, guys like Jason Day at 28 and Woodland and Haas need to play well to keep their spot in the Tour Championship. But this week's cut was at the top 70. So if we slide way down here to the top 70, there he is, Russell Knox. Brant Snedeker's been injured.
Right.
But Annabon Lahiri sneaks in. Danny Lee missed the cut this week and had to probably sit and watch all weekend to see if he would still stay inside the top 70, which he did. So that's one of the things about this FedEx Cup that I don't get too thrilled about. I don't get too excited during the tournament watching these guys that are, in 70th place. I kind of think the FedEx Cup Playoffs would be better if right from the start. Look, you make the top 125, you retain your PGA Tour card, but your season's over. They should start the PGA Tour Playoffs at like the top 60. I think it would be a lot more exciting. And then maybe cut it down to 40 and then 30, maybe, and even go lower, go top 16 for the final event maybe.
Well, we talked about match play too, where somebody's actually eliminated. Like every other sport has playoffs, and you could be the best football team in the NFL and play the 8th seed and get beat. You're out. Yeah. In this event, you can keep playing and rally. So the only elimination is the cut line. So, but to their credit, since they've had the FedEx Cup, they've tried to develop a playoff. I assume it'll get better. I hope it gets better every year, and I think it has gotten somewhat better.
I agree.
But at least they're trying, similar to NASCAR. They've developed a playoff, because other sports have them. So I just think they got to tweak it a little bit more.
How much PGA Tour golf, pro golf do you watch? You guys watch the 4 majors, or do you watch every week?
I try to watch. Having 3 kids at home, they really don't want to watch golf, but I get to watch it. This weekend I didn't get to watch very much.
Yeah, right.
So, but I got to see some highlights of today's round, and those guys, and that Justin Thomas, he's good.
Ooh.
He's good.
Yeah, you talk about how you don't back down, even though you got the lead. On the 18th hole today, Thomas just blasted one right down the middle over a fairway bunker with a 3-wood to about 295. And, he had the cushion to lay back, but he just lets it rip. And, that's a guy that shot 59 in a 63 in the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
So
63 yesterday.
Yeah, he's and really you wonder if maybe he's not going to be the number 1 player in the world before long here. And we've been shuffling that around between McIlroy to Spieth to Dustin Johnson, back to Spieth, and might not be long before Justin Thomas is.
So it's a rolling 2 years, and he certainly has had a good year this year. I don't know what's on the front end of that rolling 2 years. Might be a gap there that's holding him back, but if he keeps going
at this pace,
he'll jump up pretty fast.
Yeah. So, President's Cup. This was the final event for President's Cup points coming up the week after the Tour Championship at Baltusrol. So Kevin Chappell sneaks in, Charlie Hoffman the odd man out. So the 10-man U.S. team with 2 captains' picks to be decided by Steve Stricker this week. Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, Daniel Berger, Brooks Koepka, Kevin Kisner, Patrick Reed, Matt Kuchar, and Chappell. That's a pretty good team. Now Stricker's probably going to add Mickelson, right?
That's what I'm hearing. I'm not very much in favor of that, but I'm sure he's going to add him.
Who would you guys pick if you were Steve Stricker to round out that team?
I'd like to see the rest of the list below the 10, because I think Charlie Hoffman, he's had a great year. To leave him off the team, I think, is a mistake.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, you're looking at guys like Pat Perez and Charlie Hoffman and Kevin Kisner. Is Kisner on there? No, Kisner's on the team already. Brian Harmon, he had a great Walker Cup record.
Pat Perez is fiery. I'd put him on there. He'll upset those guys. He's got that attitude.
Patrick Reed's not on the team.
Yes, he's right here, number 9, number 8, whatever you got.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry to keep correcting you. He's one of those fiery guys, but Pat Perez I'm not sure there's anybody more fiery than Pat Perez. That guy's out there.
Yeah, I think he's reined it in a little bit, which might be part of his resurgence.
Yeah, it could be. But still, he could just fire those guys up a little bit.
But in the international team, you got Matsuyama, Jason Day, Adam Scott, Oosthuizen, Schwartzel, Leishman, Grace, Vegas, Siwoo Kim, and Adam Hadwin, plus 2 more captains' picks to be chosen soon. But again, I'll say it before this President's Cup, the main reason that the Americans dominate is that this international team, they have nothing in common. Hideki Matsuyama has nothing in common with Jonathan Vegas. They're from opposite sides of the world. Adam Hadwin's from Canada. Right. Jason Day and Adam Scott are from Australia. Siwoo Kim and Brandon Grace from South Africa. There's nothing in common here.
They can't even communicate with each other.
Right.
Probably, can't talk.
So it's
which I think on the European side, when we have the Ryder Cup, is just the opposite.
Right.
They're so close.
Right. Yeah.
But yet, you look at those names. I mean, sometimes you think, how can we win? Not so much. I think this year we got an overwhelming favorite team, but there's been some years you look at it and think, God, they're darn good.
Yeah,
and then we win pretty easily.
Good.
So.
Yeah, well, I think that's why there's the camaraderie aspect of it, and team golf. It's an individual game, but when you get these team events together, there's a lot of goes into chemistry and the pairings, and it's got to be a lot more difficult for the captain of the international team to make their pairings. I mean, they're almost by default have to put someone like Matsuyama with Siwoo Kim, or Jason Day with Adam Scott, the fellow countrymen kind of together. I don't know, just for communications purposes. But it's fun to watch. It'll be coming up here in a couple weeks, 3 weeks to be exact. And
where's that being held? U.S.
Baltusrol, New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's it's Baltusrol.
Okay.
So, well. Quietly, it hasn't got a lot of attention, but there's been a movement to regulate the golf ball, not let it make it conform to the same way that clubs now have to, like drivers have to conform. It can't be a certain hotness off the face. So, and the reason why is that these balls are getting so good, they're flying. I mean, and let me show you some stats here. Kenny Perry, everybody remembers good old Kenny Perry. Mm-hmm. He ranks 4th on the PGA Tour Champions in 2017 at 295 yards per drive. He's averaging 295 yards off the tee at age, 55, 56 maybe? In 1990, Kenny Perry's driving distance averaged 270.8. So, what is that? 27 years later? He's hitting the ball 25 yards on average longer. Now, Tom Purtzer led the PGA Tour that same season at 279, so it wasn't like Kenny Perry wasn't hitting it long. He was only 9 yards behind the longest hitter. Rory McIlroy leads this season at 316. So you got a guy on the Champions Tour, Kenny Perry, averaging 295, and the leader on the PGA Tour, 316. But basically, it's a 9% increase in driving distance from the time Perry was 30 to the time he was 57. And I hit the ball longer now than I did in 1990, and I think, Brownie, that you might too.
I'd say overall maybe about the same, but I haven't really lost, and I've aged a little bit. But the old days with Bellata golf balls and Persimmon Woods, I don't think I've lost anything at all, and it's really because of the gear. Because the math doesn't make sense where Kenny Perry can go 27 years older and drive the ball farther on a game that requires flexibility. It just doesn't make sense. So it's gear, it's equipment.
But obviously for most amateur golfers or weekend golfers, they deserve to have a little extra distance. It's more fun. Mm-hmm. But do you guys agree or disagree with the thought, like Jimmy, of regulating the golf ball, saying, okay, we're not going to make a golf ball that goes any farther than this one off a standard test,
Right. Maybe more for the professionals. I don't think for the amateurs, though. I think that would probably set a lot of people back. Yeah. From maybe playing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think amateurs, there should be different set of standards now. Like on the PGA Tour, you can say, PGA Tour, these are the approved balls, right?
They can.
And that can be different than what the USGA might allow in the U.S. Open or for an amateur event, or the USGA could say for the U.S. Open we're going to use the same ball list as the PGA Tour.
So we're going back in the late 70s even, Jack Nicklaus was talking about slowing down the golf ball. The Masters has talked many years about having their own golf ball just for their event. If you want to play in the Masters, it's that event, that golf ball. Because they were getting landlocked.
Yeah.
You know, all this tiger proofing and all that stuff. But the Tour can do whatever they want, which will not affect the recreational golfer. Okay, so we could still buy golf balls and golf clubs that are hot or illegal and all that kind of good stuff as long as you're not in a PGA Tour sanctioned event. Mm-hmm. The concern I have about some of the clubs and the golf balls are out today, there's an awful lot of people who hit the ball a long ways, but they also hit it farther offline, which makes everybody in range to get hit. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody learning how to play golf. They all go to the driving range with a driver and start slugging it. And next thing you know, 2, 3, 4 fairways over, there's a ball bouncing at you. Right. Okay? So that's just the safety side. It's a little bit of a scary piece, right? But the Tour, if they want to, can do whatever. I do think that the manufacturers will balk because it impacts their sales. We typically will buy what we see somebody using on TV.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what it is. Your favorite football team, baseball team, basketball team, whatever. If you like Nike and your team's wearing it, you're going to buy Nike products. You like Jordan Spieth, he's a Titleist guy, an Under Armour guy, you're probably going to buy those products. The sad thing is, in that case, you won't be able to get those products, which could say that, like, to a Titleist, we ain't buying into this at all.
Yeah,
they have some control.
Or you don't buy the product because you can buy a product that will perform better than the ones that Jordan Spieth uses.
That's right.
So,
because there'll be a black market and all that, right?
It's funny though. This conversation goes away for a few weeks, and then like DJ in the playoff last week hits that 340-yard drive, and everybody talks about it again. And it was when Spieth won at the Travelers a few weeks ago. That's a course that doesn't favor long hitters, and so it shows that you can design a course, that requires different types of shot making than just bombing it out there. But I do think there has to be some check on it because the way technology goes, they can just keep making things better and better, and it won't be long before, like I say, McIlroy hit 316 this season to lead the PGA Tour. In 1990, Purser led the Tour at 279. So on an average, that's 36 more yards on average. And they're playing the same courses, so it changes the game. And
I think you're going to make a requirement for an 8,000-yard golf course at a minimum. There's really none out there. If you do build one, it's more acreage, it's more cost, it's more people. I think it's going to get priced out of the market because the owners are going to say, owners of a golf course, I can't build that. I can't maintain it.
Nor do they want to because it's only for the elite tour professionals. Yes. You're building it for one event a year.
Yeah.
The rest of the year, your membership's not going to be playing the black tees from 8,000 yards.
Right. And football's been around forever. Last I knew, it was still a 100-yard field. Yeah. Right? They haven't changed that any.
Yeah, the baseball mound's still 90 feet for first base. Or
we got to figure out a way to.
But do you think that the average golf fan that goes to an event, they go there to see somebody like McIlroy hit the ball?
That's true too.
I think since Tiger Wood came out, you're absolutely correct.
They don't appreciate their wedge game.
Right.
They want to see him. They want to see Dustin Johnson take it over the pond and.
Right. People will flock to stand behind the tee rather than sit in the bleachers by the green and watch that sand shot or whatever. Let's get behind the tee and watch them hit one.
The same way in baseball, the most popular time in baseball in the past 20, 30 years was when McGuire and Sosa and were in Bonds were just hammering home runs.
Right.
And even this year, Aaron Judge's home runs. The people, they love the long ball. So, but at this pace, theoretically, 20 years from now, the average driving distance on tour could be 340. That would be an extra 27 yards. The same.
I don't know. I watched those long drive contests. That one guy hit the ball 480 yards. When's that guy going to be a touring professional?
When's he going to be able to control that distance? Yeah.
Mostly they don't cross over. Right. But what's to say they aren't? Why wouldn't Dustin Johnson take a 48-inch driver out there and tee that son of a gun up in the air and whack it? I mean,
turn par fours into par threes.
Think about it. I mean, they're driving our 13th green from the blue tees, or over in that case. I guess it'd be we play 420 or 430. That guy hit that drive I know they're in the desert and they're up and up, but it's still, the ball carries forever. And so when's it going to stop?
Yeah, that's why I think you can put a check on it, and it's fine. I don't mind, maybe right where it is now is where you want to put a check. It can't get much better. Like technology in the golf balls can't go beyond where it is now. Because it's starting to get ridiculous. I still don't think it's to the point where I don't enjoy watching golf and where I can't appreciate Dustin Johnson hitting that drive in the playoff last week. But if Dustin Johnson's able to take it another 10 yards left and hit it on the green in the playoff, it's starting to get ridiculous. But coming up here, we have let me see where we are. No PGA Tour event this week. And then they come back on September 14th for the BMW Championship at Conway Farms. Top 30 advance to the Tour Championship at East Lake. President's Cup on September 28th, and then a couple weeks off and the 2018 season starts. But one last thing, and again, there'll be no podcast next week, no PGA tournament, so we'll be back on, what would it be, September 18th, I think will be our next show.
Right. Yeah.
So, Stacy Lewis won the Cambia Portland Classic. So, first of all, it's her first win since 2014. And anytime an American wins on the LPGA Tour, we're pretty excited because that tour is hurting for notoriety here domestically. She fired a 3-under par 69 Sunday. And on top of the fact that it's her first win in 3 years, she said she was going to donate her whole check that week to the relief efforts in Houston because that's where she's from, and then she goes ahead and wins, so that's $195,000. And I can't imagine, it's one thing if Rory says I'm going to donate my winnings this week, it's dropping the bucket. Stacy Lewis could probably use that $195,000, right? Especially not winning in 3 years.
Right.
So kudos to her, and then also kudos to her sponsor KPMG, who surprised Lewis on Sunday by announcing that they'd match that number, bringing the total to $390,000. So, great job, Stacy Lewis, and great job, KPMG. And it was a pretty nice move by Lewis, and some good pub for the LPGA, and some help for the people in Houston. So
I agree. Good to see an American win. Good to see Stacy Lewis win, and then just. Props to the donation and the company match by KPMG.
Right.
I assume there's going to be more to follow. Second place, third place. It's just terrific. I can't imagine what it's like going on in Houston. Okay, it's going to be a long time, right? But it's good to see the golf world get involved and give her credit.
So, before we get out of here, just want to again congratulate you, Jimmy, and thanks for coming up. It was fun watching you play in the finals 4 and then the finals today. It was a good match between you and Steve, and congratulations again.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Good going, Jim.
And Doug, also, we should also mention our greenskeeper down there, Martin Ward, did a really nice job getting that course into shape. It was in good shape today, really all weekend, as it's been in several years. It was top notch, really something that the members could be proud of, what he put out there this weekend. And
totally agree. He makes everything look easy out there.
We should thank Dougie for organizing everything.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was
that couldn't have been an easy decision.
Appreciate it.
I'm sure you probably wanted to get out there and defend that title.
Mixed emotions, but it's all good.
Yeah, it was really well run and organized event, and you were out there. Are you a little fatigued? You were out there for I could go 36 3 days.
I didn't hit a bad shot.
Yeah, that's true. How were you on the rulings? Were you perfect on the rulings?
Yeah, there was a couple I wish I didn't have to. Was I perfect? I think.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was good to get involved, and I'm glad that they had the respect to call me in and listen to me and all that. So I think it was pretty good. So.
Well, good job. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks everybody for spending some time with us on the GolfJ.com podcast. Podcast. Connect with us online on Twitter at the Golf J, Instagram at the _Golf J, Facebook, facebook.com/Golf J. All of our episodes in the best of the wide world of golf on the web can be found at golfj.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks on Monday night at 9 p.m. Until then, hit 'em long, not often.
Typo should. It's not a game too. That's all we do. That was good.
GolfJ.
Good to recap.
.com.
Yeah, I love it. I love talking about it.
You were out there longer than I thought.